What is content creation? Content creation is much more than the skill of video editing or becoming a video editor.
I made $15,000. Need a content creation plus AI campus.
You are going to be the person who creates all the video content for businesses, brands, and influencers. Anything and everything to do online through video, from communicating with audiences to find new customers to sell to. You're going to create all the content. You'll do this for businesses, brands, and influencers, or you'll do it for yourself. That is what you're going to learn how to do. You will leverage your understanding of post-production editing, AI, creative problem solving, and video ad creation to be able to help these businesses and influencers dial in their content creation, make a lot of money, and you're going to get paid a lot of money as a result. In order for you to get started, you need a laptop, you need a place where you can sit down and create content. You need 2 to 4 hours a day into investing in learning the skill. And finally, you need a way to legally collect money online from your clients. Something like a Stripe, Wise, Cash App, or some method of being able to collect and invoice your clients. If you have all those 3 things and you have the ability to focus and learn, then you're going to be very successful. Mr. Beast is considered one of the top content creators, and clearly his work goes beyond just editing videos or creating thumbnails. But trust me, Mr. Beast truly understands the science behind video, post-production, and the behind-the-scenes content creation. He understands the science in such a way that he's always experimenting. Mr. Beast is trying to beat Mr. Beast. He wants to be the best content creator in the world. You should find motivation in that. You should aspire for every company in the world to seek out your creative or creation agency for their needs. You want it to be that you create a style that everyone copies. You should want to be the best. You should want to be the guy or girl who makes tens and millions of dollars, because every single company from Tesla to SpaceX or perhaps some pharmaceutical company, they use your content creation agency because you're the best at it. Do you want to be that guy? Because that is what this campus is going to make you. It's going to be hard work, it's not going to be easy, but that's who you can become. And don't just take my word for it. We have a channel in this campus, G of the Week.
You're already on the CC plus AI campus, G of the Week. G of the Week. G of the Week in the content creation plus AI campus. And I made just about $2,000 this week. $30,000. That's $35,000 within 3 months. I made $5,000 in 1 month at only 18 years old. You guys do the same.
You can be the guy where everything you see, every video, every website, every picture you have made or your team has made, that could be you, and that is what I'm going to make you become. In this campus, we teach you how to create content that persuades, how to make amazing video content that convince people that the companies you will sign as clients are the best in the world. That is the skill that you are going to learn. I will also show you how to approach companies. You will let these companies know, hi, I can make 10 times better content. Here is one example, and there's so much more I can do. And of course, to retain them as clients, you'll need to consistently produce high quality content. You'll update their videos, websites, thumbnails, and more. You'll do all the work for them, improving their content significantly. As long as you truly enhance their content and they notice improvements in their business and quality of their content, you'll be successful. When they see their videos go viral, attracting clicks, driving traffic to their website, and leading to purchases of their product or service, they'll recognize the value of your work. That's when they'll continue to pay you forever. Suddenly, you'll be earning over 7K plus per month. Now you just need to repeat that process over and over again until you're doing it for 10 different companies. Soon you'll realize your time is worth more than 7K per month, and businesses will be paying you 30K per month. It all comes down to what you can persuade them to pay you and proving that it's worth it in the end. That's the business model. And the reason we focus on AI in this campus is that we use a lot of AI tools, which lets us create content much faster than other creators. For example, while it might take someone a full day to make 1 image or a week to produce a video, you will be able to do it in less than 24 hours. This speed and high quality of work will allow you to handle 10 times more clients. So while another content creator might be able to earn 7K a month because they can manage only 1 client, you could be making 70K a month because you can take on 10 clients. And that is why we really emphasize AI. It enables you to produce better work at higher speeds. At 18:30 UTC, all new students gather together as I supercharge your journey to success. It is extremely important you attend these calls. Not only will they increase the speed at which you obtain wealth creation success, but these calls commonly unlock any day-to-day obstacles you may be facing and help reprogram your mind from the subconscious matrix programming prior to joining the real world. On the left-hand side of your screen, you will see the courses button. When a live call starts, a green box will appear beneath the courses button with the title of the call for that day. Clicking on the play button next to the title will allow you to gain access to these invaluable calls. The entire campus is built on channels. Channels are located on the left-hand column of the real-world user interface beneath the courses button. The announcements channel is where I tell you everything. Important changes everyone needs to be aware of inside the campus and the real world. The Professor Diaries is a daily diary of my thoughts. I recommend you check this channel every day. Now, I do not plan to walk you through every channel in this lesson. As our creative community grows, channels change. As you progress through your learning, hidden channels appear in order to support your journey to success. With that being said, the content creation chat is the beginner channel. You will commonly find me, my team of captains, and all the students supporting one another to overcome daily challenges and obstacles. You'll also find frequently asked questions and answers pinned in different channels. Be sure to go over to the content creation chat and introduce yourself. If you only consume the lessons and do not take action, you will not succeed in this campus. To help you stay the course, every day I ping out a checklist. The daily checklist is a way to keep yourself accountable. You will find the daily checklist on the left-hand column under the daily lessons heading. You have 4 actionable tasks to commit to. Number 1, train. Physical activity is important. You are here to become a G, not a rich dog. Number 2, spend 10 minutes analyzing and implementing 1 daily Pope lesson. The channel above the daily checklist is the daily Pope lessons channel. Each and every single day you should analyze and implement 1 of my lessons to help supercharge your success. Number 3, part of your daily checklist is to have sent 3 to 10 performance outreaches or 1 to 2 creative work sessions. Remember, creative work sessions can be client work or following the actions outlined in your lessons. Number 4, have you tuned into the live calls? Needless to say how important these calls are. Ask around, they're famous. Be sure to hit the tick or cross emoji daily to keep yourself accountable in the daily checklist channel. You're only going to learn by trying your very best every single day to make videos that help you achieve the goal of making sales. By sales, I mean creating a valuable free video for a prospect that will make them want to work with you. Every day presents a problem you need to solve. You have between 3 to 10 bullets in your hunting rifle, which you can shoot per day. The only way you will fail in this campus is if you start to get lazy and you do not do your daily checklist, or if you give up. For some of you seeking more clarity on your path to success, I'm going to provide that clarity now. After this lesson, you will pick a niche, a service within the sphere of content creation, and find a list of prospects to outreach to. That will complete this category. The video editing categories are there to help you calibrate your rifle so you can take the shot. You will apply these categories to focus your efforts every single day firing your hunting rifle. After 100 days, you have fired almost 300 to 1,000 bullets each time with more precision. That is how you learn. That is how you become the best. I've trained champions, and that is what winning looks like. And only once you become proficient at video editing, only then I recommend you apply to become an advanced student. This is the testing ground for champions. Here we will dial up the intensity Here, I will transform you from a video editor to a video marketer and reveal to you my very own 6-figure formula to get clients on demand. For now, it's time to get to work. There's a method to the madness. Many of you might be wondering why you are finding clients when you are not yet proficient in content creation plus AI. The explanation is straightforward. Finding clients provides you with a goal to aim for. You're gathering ammunition for your hunting rifle to hone your shooting skills. Having prospects enables you to download their content and reproduce it using the service you choose to provide, practicing in real time. There is no time wasted on generating random content and experimenting with AI. Absolutely not. These are the clients I aim to create content for, and I'll use their content to develop my skills. The Content Creation plus AI Campus ethos is our students get money in by taking action. So, within this category, you'll find clients and develop the ability to analyze their business. You'll address the marketing problems they have related to the content creation service you'll provide. Here's a quick lesson for you. In order to make money, solve problems. Students, let's get clear on what we are doing here. We are offering marketing services in the form of video creations at a cost that is less than the return of investment the client will receive. The return of investment, or ROI, the client will receive will be in the form of money earned or time saved from your content creation skills. Your video creations should help the client earn more money by attracting more customers or increasing sales. This is monetary ROI. Or the client saves time that they would have spent editing content themselves. This time can then be used for other valuable activities, effectively making it a return of investment. This is ROI on reclaimed time. What you need to do is pick one niche, one service, and become the best at executing this. Students, what is a niche? Simply put, a niche is a segment of the market, and a common question I am asked is why niche down when you can have multiple? And it comes down to having a focused strategy. The non-focused strategy is wide and flat, many different services and markets, whereas the focused strategy is narrow and deep, which allows for specialization and can lead to a strong identity. The narrow and deep approach means you are a specialist. This is why an accountant who focuses on a particular area of finance, such as a forensic accountant or management accountant, gets paid the most, or why a specialist doctor, such as a cardiologist, neurologist, or pediatrician, gets paid the most. It is important not only for your own market message, but for your clients too. They need to view you as a creator who is adept in one specific industry. This is how you command negotiations. If you want delivery of the best content creation in this niche, then we are your go-to. One famous quote that resonates with this comes from Sun Tzu, an ancient Chinese military strategist and author of The Art of War. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. You need to strategically disqualify yourself with prospects who are not in your niche and service. And we will go into service discovery in the upcoming lessons. This is where your mind needs to be. You know everything about your niche, therefore you know everything about your prospects and your service intrinsically. Now, with that being said, you will find yourself niche hopping, but after experiencing what is out there, you will need to hone in on one niche. Before you go ahead and decide on a niche, I want to introduce you to 3 qualifying questions for a niche. Number 1, is the prospect making 5K per month or more? Number 2, are you passionate about the niche? Now, this is not an absolute requirement. However, having a deeper reason and passion towards the prospect's business does help, which then leads us on to the 3rd question, which is, do you understand the niche? Students, I want you all to understand 50% of client acquisition is about sales principles, but the remaining 50% is about the niche-specific language you use to understand and close the prospect. This and the 3 qualifying questions is the reason as to why niche research is so important. For this, I recommend you watch some videos online about the niche or business model you are interested in. Google and YouTube is a great place to start. Some examples of what you'd look up are, how do you become your niche? How does your niche make money? How to open your niche/business? How to become your niche? Then once you have done this first level of research, you want to go and explore certain benchmarks such as revenue, profit margins, expenses, etc. So again, here's some examples of what you should look up. How much does the average your niche make a year? What's the average profit margin of your niche? How many employees does the average your niche have? What sort of expenses does your niche have? With all this research, you may now also want to look into specific marketing targets. Again, search on both Google and YouTube how to get results for your niche with your service. For now, just go ahead and write content creation or video editing, your niche marketing case study, your niche, your service case study. You want to look out for what sort of content was created previously, what sort of videos, and what worked well. And remember to always keep the 3 qualifying questions in mind whenever you're selecting your niche. When selecting a niche, you want a stable niche, a niche that is growing, or a niche that is going through transformation. An example of a niche undergoing transformation is the traditional retail industry shifting towards e-commerce and digital platforms. You should steer clear of niches that are in decline. 2 examples of this include print newspapers, which have seen a decline in readership, and advertising revenue simply because of the growing prevalence of digital news sources and the shift towards online media consumption. Likewise, the commercial real estate industry faces challenges from factors such as the remote work trend. Why work with a niche that is on a decline? Each year, remote working becomes more and more common. When you are first starting out, the disconnect between you, your niche, and the prospect is normal. After you do your outreach, you'll feel more connected with your niche. After you have a discovery call, you'll feel more confident in your niche. After you close a prospect, you then will carry yourself differently in regards to your niche. The fundamental lesson here is each and every single one of you may not always feel connected to your niche to begin with, but over time you will. After discovering your niche, the next vital step in your journey is selecting the right service to offer to your niche. What do I mean by this? Within content creation, we have such a diverse mix. We have long-form video creation, short-form video creation, ad creation, video sales letters, VSLs for sales funnels, VSLs for product launches, VSLs in email marketing, thumbnail design, graphic design, and so on and so forth. After you complete this Start Here category, you will be exposed to a multitude of content creation skills. You will eventually need to double down and select one of these services. As a preemptive side note, yes, understanding content creation holistically is still relevant to ensure you have the understanding of where your service fits in the wider picture. Let's revisit the focus strategy. You need to offer one niche, a single service. The narrow and deep approach means you are a specialist. Now, with that being said, there are 2 very important considerations to be taken into account when it comes to service selection. The first is you are not wedded to the service you selected. Many of you listening to this may have already decided you will offer a short form content creation service. However, you may experience a growing demand in a different service offer than the one you are offering within your niche. And the second is be creative. Be creative in your service selection. For example, your service could be to trim and rearrange raw footage, which could mean your service allows your clients to increase their volume of recording content, or the reverse. Or your service may be short film, video content creation, which requires multidisciplinary skills within video content creation. Now, I'd like to conclude this category with a brief footnote. Once you get to a certain stage, you will become multi-service. Outward facing, you'd be offering one service. Once your prospect becomes a client, the aim is to retain them as a client because you'd have the ability to offer a wide assortment of content creation. You can go ahead and do this, but this is much later on in your journey. I want you to think of it like this. You can be an outward facing single service, but inward, you can offer other services the client needs in order to retain that client for as long as possible. Students, by far, this for me has been the most difficult module to formulate and translate into learning for you all. That is simply because when it comes to pricing, there's no one-size-fits-all solution. There's no correct answer. You've already heard me say an ROI service, but in this module, I want to discuss with you a convenience service. Simply put, an ROI service has a trackable attribution model, a way of linking the service activities to the sales or profits it generates. However, at this point in your journey, majority of you will have a convenience service framework. This is what we will be discussing as we move forward. Prior to delving into specific figures, I'd like to highlight some common mistakes that students often encounter. Successfully navigating these pitfalls will enhance your perspective of the upcoming pricing calculations. The initial and most prevalent one is the minimum duration. When onboarding a client, ensure you secure their commitment for a minimum duration, even if it's only 2 to 3 months. Ideally, a 6-month term is preferable. The next is ensuring your minimum pricing threshold remains above $500 per month. I commonly see students onboarding clients at a lower threshold, overlooking the fact that anything below this benchmark indicates a market focused more on price than on value. And lastly, safety margins, which will become more pertinent, especially as you start expanding your client list. Make sure your expected gross margin always stays above the 50% threshold. As you grow, it is inevitable you will outsource or hire staff, whether this be for elements of a project or the entirety of a project. As a side note, I personally prefer to hire staff for elements of a project. An example of this could be an editor who cuts down raw footage into usable footage. A great way to ensure that you are above the 50% threshold is using Upwork.com find talent search. If you find talent which, for example, a video shorts creator whose rate is $10 per short, your rate to the client should be $20 per short. This methodology is commonly referred to as contractor arbitrage. But as I have mentioned, this becomes more relevant as you expand your client list. I know these next few lessons will be fan favorites, so without further ado, let's get straight into it. In our live calls, you've heard me say, as you improve your skill over time, your earning potential increases. This establishes a direct relationship between time and money, indicating a linear correlation. Within this linear progression, there are 4 quadrants formed by 2 categories: low-paying clients and high-paying clients. I'm going to set the pricing floor at $500 as mentioned in the previous lesson. One niche, one service bridges the gap from $500 to $3,000 per month, a halfway house between low-paying clients and high-paying clients. The combination of this can involve having 2 clients who pay $1.5K per month or 10 clients, each contributing $300 per month. It really doesn't matter, because at this point, you are constantly refining your skill and your one niche, one service approach. Typically, when you reach $5,000 per month, you often stop working with clients who pay less and focus more on attracting clients who pay more. Upwards of this is $10K per month to infinity. This is where you begin to have a foot in both the convenience and ROI service frameworks. This might mean working with 3 to 5 clients who pay you between 3.5K and 2K each month. It is also possible to have one client who pays you 10K per month. This happens when you figure out the specific area you specialize in, the service you provide, and how you charge them. The goal now is to tilt the average earning lines upwards, getting into the zone of higher paying clients more quickly. Success in this depends on volume, proficiency in your skill, niche, service, reaching out to a large number of potential clients, learning and applying a large amount of information. When it comes to pricing, there is no correct answer. Over time, you will become intuitive with your pricing. When looking at pricing content creation services, my intuition has taught me a lot. At the end of the day, on your journey upward of 10K plus per month, pricing involves combining pricing models, intuition, and market competition. This develops over time, especially if you're following the consistent blue line on the graph above. Alternatively, it depends on volume if you're tracking along the green line. So I assume all of you plan to move at a significantly fast pace similar to the green line. This suggests that you've pinpointed your niche and one service through volume of creating content, reaching out to prospects, and working with clients. You will, however, also need to establish your one price structure or model. As mentioned earlier, along with discovering your niche and selecting a service, your pricing will also vary until you find the optimal point that suits your needs. That's why I'm going to introduce you to 2 models. For the vast majority of you, only the first model will be applicable at this stage in your journey, which is the convenience pricing. This is where you set a flat rate. It's a straightforward model that provides predictable cash flow. The more you dial in your niche and service, the better you'll become at intuitively increasing this pricing model. For instance, consider a skilled student who, after putting in a substantial volume of work, identifies a niche in limited edition luxury watches. He provides an ad creation service, has dialed in this pricing model to charge $3K per ad, and has more than one client commissioning more than one ad creation. Versus when he initially started his journey, he offered content creation services for any jewelry niche at whatever rate he could secure per ad. I've witnessed students earning over $30K per month using this straightforward pricing model, even with just one client. Nevertheless, there are drawbacks of this pricing model, which is that it doesn't provide additional earnings based on the performance of your creations, which is why over time, as you continue to dial your one niche, one service approach, you may find yourself considering a convenience plus performance pricing model. In this model, you charge a low flat fee along with a performance fee. This approach offers an unlimited potential for earnings. However, it does come with an unpredictable cash flow and no assurance of a specific income. For example, you might charge a low fee of $500 for an ad, and in addition include a performance fee based on a 10 to 20% increase on average view duration. But you do not meet this quota. This is why this particular pricing model may seem overwhelming for beginners, which is why it's a strategy that more advanced students will typically adopt. I will begin this as it is of utmost importance. This campus, we strictly do not offer free trials. The motto for Wins is as follows: if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. This is the reason as to why our Wins channel exclusively features financial victories. This particular lesson is designed for students who have been with us for several months but have yet to successfully close a deal with a prospect. You should not resort to trials if you haven't yet managed to get a prospect on a call or similar interactions. Consider a student who has barely made an effort to close a prospect with one service, one pricing model, and immediately turns to trials as the solution. Dummy. However, if you've reached a stage where you have had numerous meetings but still can't seem to secure a deal with a prospect, then this is the lesson for you to revisit. I would recommend turning to this method only if you had 5 to 10 actual meetings, not just responses to cold emails, but genuine scheduled meetings where you've tried to pitch your one service and pricing. Revisiting my earlier statement, as I want to emphasize this point further, a client is not a client until you've been paid. Now, repeat after me. In the words of Tate, it's not a business if nobody pays you. It's a business when people are paying you. Until then, it's circle jerk bullshit. A business is money in. So, what do? The first offer is no minimum duration. In a previous lesson, I've advised you all to ensure when onboarding a client, you secure them for a minimum duration of 3 to 6 months, preferably 6 months. But, as in the context of this lesson, you can opt for no minimum duration, simply proceeding on a rolling month-by-month basis. No obligation on the client to continue with your creation service if they deem it not beneficial at any point going forward. The next aspect to consider is a low fee, which depends entirely on authenticity. You can inform your prospect about your pricing and then explain they would be your first client, which is the reason why you're offering to charge significantly less. The last one is offering a guarantee. For example, your one service may be thumbnail creations. You keep the offer at a rolling month-by-month basis, but if you are unable to increase their click-through rate by 2 to 5% from where it currently is, you'll offer a refund of 50% of the service fee in order to reduce their financial risk. Disclaimer: the information provided in this content is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be construed as financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. The financial strategies discussed are my personal opinions and should not be considered as financial guidance. Before making any financial decisions, please consult with a qualified professional to ensure it is appropriate for your individual circumstances. Getting paid is a two-step process. The first starts with opening up a bank account. So start by opening up a bank account, which depends on your location, but it's usually easy. Consider a digital bank account for quick setup. Banks like Revolt, Monzo, and Starling are great choices, often letting you start in 24 hours to 7 days. If you're under 18, you'll likely face no issues. In the rare cases that you do, you might need help from your parents or guardians. The next step is setting up Stripe. Once you have your bank account created, you just need to connect it to Stripe. Stripe is by far the best merchant processor. I've processed millions of transactions with them and it's been an excellent experience. They take a 2.9% fee and transfers to your bank take approximately 2 to 10 days depending on your location. If Stripe isn't yet supported in your country, you can consider these alternatives. Square, which is available in the same countries as Stripe. Square is also a good choice if you prefer not to use Stripe. However, I personally recommend using Stripe. Go cardless. This is a UK-based option, useful if you're outside Stripe service areas. And PayPal, a well-known merchant with some drawbacks. PayPal are known for holding funds, poor customer service, and high fees, especially with currency conversion. But if you have no other options, PayPal can still be a viable choice. Whether you want to work with online businesses or local businesses, I am going to show you how to gather prospects. There are prospects everywhere. So without further ado, let's get into the first lesson. Before we begin searching for prospects, let me show you a method to find and validate their emails. This method lets you bypass the usual process where businesses direct contact attempts to their support team, hunter.io. Most of you watching this lesson can use this extension for free. However, if you need to do more frequent and detailed checks, you'll have to buy an upgrade. After registering and adding the Hunter extension to Google Chrome, every time you visit a website, just hover over the plugin icon. The Hunter extension will then search that domain and other sites linked to it to find email addresses ending with the same domain. If the owner's email has been mentioned in an article or a public database, it will show up using this method. You can see here that when using the Hunter extension on Globe Air, an on-demand charter jet service, we get 11 results. To confirm the right email, a quick search on the website is needed. In just a few seconds, I confirm that the first email identified by Hunter.io is correct. Bernard is the chief executive officer of Globe Air, and after a few more seconds, I quickly noticed that the landing page video could improve, and they are very active in creating content on social media platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Now, let's get into finding prospects. Before we explore our first method of prospecting, I'd like to add a disclaimer. Utilizing social media to identify prospects is a legitimate approach. There's no need for a separate lesson. Navigating social media platforms is straightforward since they have built-in search functionalities. This is typically the stage where students ask about the number of subscribers or followers and which metrics they should be focusing on. My perspective on this matter is straightforward: none. What I focus on is whether there is a digital, physical product they are selling or service. This is the point at which you shift from thinking like a video editor to thinking like a video marketer. Tofu, mofu, bofu, any conversion funnel, no matter the concept, can be simplified by breaking it into 3 parts. The top of the funnel, tofu; the middle of the funnel, mofu; the bottom of the funnel, bofu. I will provide you with a high-level overview of my thought process when qualifying a prospect through conversion funnels. All influencers or businesses that sell a digital, physical product or service will have a tofu. The goal with your prospects top of the funnel is to generate interest, capture attention, and initiate a customer journey. Remember, at this point, your prospects' potential customers don't know who your prospect really is. Tofu marketing tactics aim to attract and engage a broad audience. One of those tactics may be through YouTube content, social media. The top of the funnel metrics used to assess their impact might include thumbnail click-through rates, average view duration on the content, and so on and so forth. What your prospect is usually tracking through whatever tofu tactic they are using is how much of this traffic is moving into the middle of the funnel, which in our scenario can be the landing page, the website of the prospect's digital, physical product they are selling or service. Maybe a page to get their potential buyers to subscribe to a newsletter, whatever it might be. There are a whole host of metrics that are now relevant to this stage of the funnel. This is where I qualify my prospect: traffic and engagement from tofu to mofu. Similar web, which allows you to easily access key metrics for any site, including visits over time. Go to similarweb.com. After a lengthy process of setting up an account with them, which includes several attempts to persuade you to subscribe to a costly plan, you will find yourself on this page. The limited version is sufficient since the only feature you'll be using is website analysis. You can search for any website domain here. So let's go ahead and insert an e-commerce store, capitosnowboarding.com. In December 2023, capitosnowboarding.com had over 100k total visits to their website selling snowboards. You want to work with influencers, businesses, and brands that are well established and have substantial financial resources and traffic rather than small startups. When qualifying a prospect, I consider those with a website traffic of 80,000 to 100k visits or more. Let's now dive into the process of prospecting. The first method of prospecting, moving away from the straightforward social media approach, is e-commerce. MyIP.ms. MyIP.ms is a website database where you can search for websites using various filters including host, number of visitors, location, and site name. Since Shopify is the most popular e-commerce platform, this website allows you to filter your search to find e-commerce businesses using Shopify. In this browser, navigate to the websites section and select the World Websites Database option. To utilize the search function, you need to fill out 2 fields: full/part website name and IP owner/parent IP owner/hosting. In the full/part website name field, you should enter keywords or popular terms related to your niche. This helps in narrowing down the search to websites most relevant to your area of interest. In the IP owner/parent IP owner/hosting field, you should select Shopify Inc. from the drop-down menu. This action filters the search to include only those websites hosted by Shopify Inc., ensuring that the search results are specifically tailored to Shopify-hosted e-commerce sites. Websites of department stores as well as platforms like Amazon serve as excellent lead sources for businesses that also sell directly to consumers. Department stores carry a wide range of brands, all which thrive in wholesale but struggle with online sales. They aim to expand online and not depend solely on large department stores to attract new clients, which is why stores are great prospect hunting grounds. I'll give you two examples. Selfridges is a highly successful department store. On their website, I search for skin and skincare tools and sort by the newest. The first product that has appeared looks like a brand that is workable. Just by doing a Google search for the brand name Face Gym, I found their website. From there, I could check out their social media, their content, and so on and so forth. Next, Amazon. After searching for men's golf gloves, I came across a pair from a brand named FootJoy, and in a very similar manner to before, I ran a Google search on the brand and found their website. When I say prospects can be found everywhere, I really mean it. And funnily enough, opportunities are abundant and present in many unexpected places like department stores and Amazon. D7 Lead Finder helps you find business-to-business prospects in any industry, anywhere in the world. The website is useful for searching for business prospects both locally and internationally. On their website, just type in a keyword related to your business area and select a city where you want to search for prospects. Remember to use the drop-down menu options on their website. For example, I've entered watch repair for prospects in Chicago. The search can take up to 5 minutes to finish. Also, since we're on the free plan, we won't be able to see details like email addresses. Don't worry, this search has yielded 254 prospects. I make sure these prospects are qualified by checking if they have an Instagram presence. The first result I got was the Jewels of Chicago, and after a quick Google search, I found their website. Another potential prospect if they meet the qualifying criteria I described in earlier lessons. I find D7 Lead Finder is particularly effective when identifying local business-to-business prospects. Next, an extremely underrated method of prospecting is via Google Maps for local and international businesses. It's as simple as searching for businesses within your niche. I did a search for restaurants in London, and with just a few clicks, you can find websites and check out social media profiles through your qualifying prospect process. It's genuinely as simple as that. Never forget, almost every business in the world requires content. It's your job to become an industry expert in your one niche and one service. Groupon. Yes, third-party providers of goods and services are a great place to find prospects. Sites like Groupon often use discount deals to attract customers to businesses. Think about it. Businesses listed on Groupons are already interested in attracting customers and are ready to invest in marketing to achieve this. Many shoppers aren't aware that sites like Groupons charge a big fee on sales. This gives us, as prospect hunters, a great advantage. Just like with department stores, Amazon, or Google Maps, it's as easy as searching for your niche in a specific location or across the country. Then go ahead and search the business name in Google. This lesson is mainly about how to find prospects rather than contacting them. However, it's important to note, particularly when dealing with sites like Groupon, when you find a prospect on Groupon, avoid using the same approach as you will with everyone else. Instead, use their presence on Groupon as a unique angle. Let them know you discovered them through Groupon and explain how your services can enhance key performance metrics like click-through rates, etc. This approach is more likely to get a response. Before we finish our lessons on finding potential clients, I'll share one more method to identify businesses to collaborate with. Search on Google for awards for fastest growing your niche companies year, awards for best your niche companies in the country, awards for new your niche companies year. Here's an example using the pest control niche. We have a selection of award-winning emerging companies that we could consider contacting. If there's one main thing you should remember, prospects are everywhere. Students, it's time to earn money. Moving ahead, you'll begin to learn content creation plus AI. You'll craft a free value video for your prospect and then embed this in an email as part of your outreach strategy. Your lesson in outreach is this. Outreach is the medium used to get a message to a prospect, and the most important parts are the prospect and the message. We are not copywriters. So whether it's email or social media DMs, outreach is just the way the message is delivered. I choose to use cold email outreach as part of my strategy. For now, you must learn to calibrate your rifle. You have access to lessons teaching you how to edit one niche, one service, one intuitive pricing model, and prospects to send one free value to. You'll combine all of this into what I refer to as a performance outreach. This consists of 3 components: the email subject line, the first 1 or 2 sentences, which are the start of the email body, and your free value video creation. Remember, the email subject line and the first 1 or 2 sentences are part of the outreach medium, whereas the free value video creation is the message. You have one goal each and every day you wake up, and that is to fire 3 to 10 performance outreaches. Performance outreaches are the lifeblood of this campus and dictates your ability to make money. You need to create a piece of free value content for the prospect to use. That is one performance outreach. However, you must problem solve. The free value creation you offer must address a problem for the business you're reaching out to. To make money, solve problems. I won't condescend students by teaching the fundamentals of business operations. By now, you should have established this understanding through previous lessons and research into your niche, service, and prospects. Instead, I will guide you on how to identify and address specific marketing problems for businesses you'll be contacting to offer your content creation service. When you're solving problems for businesses, your ultimate goal remains consistent across every client: to lead them to victory royale. To achieve this, there are 2 levers we can manipulate within any marketing system: capturing or getting attention, and converting that attention into monetization. In business terms, achieving victory royale entails mastering the art of capturing attention and effectively monetizing it to the highest degree possible. Our objective is to guide every business we work with to attain victory royale. It is important to understand that whilst some businesses are great at getting noticed, they find it hard to make money from that attention. Your role would be to help these businesses turn the attention they are getting into actual earnings. Some businesses excel at turning attention into revenue, but struggle to attract the attention in the first place. If this is the situation, the solution is straightforward. We need to assist these businesses in becoming better at getting attention. There are also businesses that don't perform well, and they can be categorized into 2 types: new losers, which are just starting out and haven't found success yet, and old losers, which have been around for a long time without achieving success. New businesses fresh off the scene often lack the skills to attract or monetize attention, making them more promising partners than established businesses that have consistently struggled in these areas. These older businesses have been around for a long time without mastering how to draw attention or generate revenue from it. I would avoid old losers. Some businesses are good at both attracting and monetizing attention, putting them close to achieving victory royale. Regardless of their current position in the system, our goal is to guide all businesses towards the same destination: victory royale. That brings us to the question of how do we determine a business's position relative to achieving victory royale, and what steps we need to take to ensure that the business becomes successful. In the next lesson, it's assessment time. Start by examining their current methods of gaining online visibility, which generally fits into one of these categories we're going to cover. The first of these categories is organic social media. Identify their most prominent social media platform and use the following numbers as a general guideline. So, for example, if Instagram is the most significant social media channel for one of your prospects, if they have between 0 to 1,000 followers, it indicates they suck at getting attention. 1K to 10K, getting attention is still the main challenge and objective they should have. 10K to 100K followers usually suggests their focus shift should be on monetization. 100K plus, they've got the spotlight and it's time for them to find fresh money-making strategies. It's important to mention that these numbers only hold significance if the engagement levels are appropriate. For instance, a post receiving only 5 likes on an account with over 100K followers doesn't add up. And what do I always say? If it don't make money, it don't make sense. Well, this also applies the other way around. If it don't make sense, it don't make money. Exploring paid advertising is another crucial step. A helpful guideline is that the presence and frequency of ads often indicate their success. In other words, the longer or more ads you see, the more likely the ads are successful. To investigate if a business has Facebook or Instagram ads, you can use the Facebook Ads Library. For insights on Google Search and display ads, SimilarWeb and SEMrush are reliable resources. For a more comprehensive analysis across all platforms, including YouTube and TikTok, BigSpy.com is a G tool. However, it comes with a cost. As an alternative for TikTok ad insights, the TikTok Creative Center is a good place to start. If you head over to ads.tiktok.com/business/creative center, you can go ahead and investigate different trends and high converting ads that businesses are using on TikTok. When investigating a business's paid ad strategy, aim to determine if a business is actively advertising, the duration of their ad campaigns, and the quality of these ads. Successful, ongoing ad campaigns usually signify that the business is achieving a positive return on investment. This usually indicates that their grasp of content creation's importance in driving business success is already there. This approach allows you to gauge not only the presence, but also the effectiveness of a business's advertising efforts. Another aspect to consider is SEO, search engine optimization rankings. There is an array of tools like SimilarWeb, SEMrush, and others that help analyze which terms a business ranks highly for. These tools provide insights into the effectiveness of a business's SEO strategies. It's beneficial to explore these resources to understand how well a business is positioned online. Additionally, a straightforward method to gauge SEO effectiveness is to conduct searches on platforms where the business is likely to appear, such as Google, YouTube, or even Amazon. By using keywords relevant to the business's target market, you can observe which companies appear in the top 1 to 3 search results or on the first page. Generally, businesses appearing in these spots are likely to be actively engaging in SEO practices to attract attention and improve their online visibility. To figure out if a business is getting attention, you can also check out affiliate marketing. This means if a lot of different people or websites are sending visitors to their site, it's a big deal. Also, if they're teaming up with other companies or famous people, that is important. You can spot this by going on social media and seeing if big influencers or creators have mentioned them. If there are lots of links pointing to their site, that's a clue. Just browse through social media, especially when they're tagged. Not all businesses get noticed through ads or their own social media posts. So, like the ones you might see on ClickBank, get famous through affiliates, people who promote their stuff without creating content themselves. These businesses tend to focus on money making from the buzz their affiliates create. So, to see if a business is really hitting it big, check if they're being talked about a lot, especially in affiliate marketing or partnering with others. Direct sales are super common when businesses sell to other businesses. This means they deal straight with their customer, not through a middleman. They might reach out with cold calls, direct messages, DMs, or emails, network at trade shows, or chat in online groups like Facebook with other business owners. It's a bunch of ways to connect directly, but it's tough to spot from the outside. You won't see someone cold calling online, and if a business's website is full of success stories, but it's not clear how they're making sales, they're probably into direct sales. Some businesses also use social media to target potential customers, sliding into DMs or emailing them directly, especially when they have a focused audience. It's a way to really make the most of smaller group of followers, but it's usually something you only see if you're directly involved. Like if you're a potential customer they're trying to reach out to. The last big way businesses get noticed is through press coverage, social media buzz, or trending topics. Maybe the business has been featured on major news websites, or people are talking about them on social media, whether it's regular folks or a big name influencer on different podcasts, or if they've done something amazing that everyone is chatting about. That is a sign they're getting attention. Some businesses are really good at stirring up excitement and conversations online. To figure out if they're successful at it, you just need to look around a bit. If there's a lot of talk about them, they're probably catching people's eyes. This is how you check out what's getting them noticed. So with all these strategies, you can now figure out how a business is getting their attention. The next step is to understand how they are making money from this attention. Essentially, there are 2 main things to look at, which is what we are going to explore now. By now, the lessons should have taught you how to recognize the methods a business uses to capture attention. Organic social media, paid ads, SEO, affiliate marketing, direct sales, and social media buzz or hype. Now let's explore how a business monetizes this attention. There are essentially 2 key elements to consider here. First, the structure of their value ladder and funnels, including how their online funnel is organized. Second, the quality of their content. When analyzing their value ladder, examine whether they offer a range of products at different value points, like lead magnets, low ticket items, medium ticket items, high ticket items, and any subscription-based products. They don't need to have all these elements, but missing ones could indicate a potential opportunity. Additionally, assess if any of their products are weaker than the others. Do they offer both low ticket and high ticket products? You might notice that people are drawn to the low ticket items compared to the high ticket items, or vice versa. This comparison can help you identify any weak points. Additionally, consider whether their products depend heavily on the owner's time. For instance, professionals like personal trainers sell their time, which limits scalability. They can only manage a certain number of clients. If this is the case, there's an opportunity to develop a scalable product such as a video course, book, software tool, whatever it might be. Such products can be sold to many people without requiring additional time investment from the client. Once someone makes a purchase, what content do they receive? What new level of access to the brand is granted? How does the brand communicate with existing customers to encourage them to make repeat purchases or buy new products? It's important to examine these funnels and communication strategies in place to see how they are engaging with customers, not only pre-purchase, but also post-purchase. If they haven't made the content the best it can be, that's a big opportunity for you to improve their content. If they're doing it right, they're probably going to make money from it. Also, think about it. Is their content hard to understand? Is it boring? Is it dull? Does it look bad? Spotting these problems can be a real chance to find something valuable. When you're checking out their content, look at it as closely as you look at your own content. Critically analyze it as if you were analyzing another student's content. Then just ask yourself, are there clear chances to use content creation to boost their sales? Can I increase the number of people who visit their page and actually decide to buy something? Can I make people who watch this video choose to take action? But remember, when you're asking these questions and spotting opportunities, make sure to base your ideas on the research and knowledge you've gathered about content in your niche. There are a few other signs that show how well they're making money. First, if they have lots of reviews or testimonials, that usually means people like and buy their product. That's a sign they're good at making money. Another sign is how good their design and mobile experience is. If the design looks good, it usually means the product is good. But if it looks awful on mobile or only looks good on the website, that's a sign the product probably isn't great and people don't really like it. If people liked it, more people would buy it, giving the company or business more money to improve its look and feel. Another important thing to notice is whether customers rave about the product or service online. If you find a business where customers are leaving reviews and excitedly sharing with their friends, it's a good sign the product is great. If the product is good, you can help them get more attention and attract more customers. There's a big opportunity there. So if people are praising it online, it's a sign that they're good at making money from attention or have the potential to do so. You might want to partner with them. These, combined with the previous lessons, are important things to keep in mind. We've analyzed how businesses capture and monetize attention and likely identified some weaknesses. Understanding their position on the graph helps us recognize their vulnerabilities. Now it's time to develop and implement innovative solutions. In marketing, there are two crucial elements to consider. First, there's the actual machine, the overarching system that functions like a giant factory. Then there's the components you'll be adding or modifying. Your task is to pinpoint where the issues lie and identify any missing pieces. Essentially, your idea needs to address these two elements effectively. For instance, their business might require ads, or there could be a need to fix a broken component on their sales page. Perhaps the issue is that the page lacks engaging content and relies solely on text. It's essential to determine which part of the funnel you'll be working on. The other element concerns the creation of content itself, whether it's producing a video for a sales page or crafting a video tailored to a specific part of the marketing funnel that you are enhancing or repairing. These two aspects are vital components of your overall marketing strategy. But how do you actually figure out what they need to solve the problem? Here's how you do it. Swagger jacking. This means drawing inspiration from top players in the market. It's not about copying them outright, but understanding what successful people are doing and adapting those principles for your own use. First, identify the main problem your audience faces or your client's audience faces. Then look at the top players and competitors in that space. Examine their methods for gaining attention and think about how you can apply similar strategies to your prospect's business. For instance, if someone is effectively using social media to boost their business, consider if you can adapt that approach for your own needs. You can also look beyond your own market. For example, if you're in the fitness niche, study successful strategies from the relationship coaching niche to see if any can be adapted to your field. This cross-pollination of ideas can be very effective. Sometimes classic marketing strategies provide the best solutions. Established funnels and traditional methods often work well and don't require you to reinvent the wheel. Think outside the box, especially when it comes to messaging. While the tools you use may be standard, the way you present your message should be creative and persuasive. Testing unconventional ideas can often lead to great results. So here are those 4 categories again to find solutions to problems. Number 1, swagger jacking. Compare with top players. Look at what the leading businesses are doing to solve similar problems. How are they getting and monetizing attention? Can you adopt these methods? Number 2, learn from other markets. Study successful businesses in different industries. What strategies do they use that you can bring back into your own niche? Number 3, classic textbook answers. Use proven methods from classic marketing strategies. Sometimes the best solutions are tried and true ones. Number 4, be creative. Innovation is key, especially in your creations. Frame your ideas in the most interesting and compelling way possible to capture attention. When presenting your ideas, especially in cold outreach, ensure they address the business's needs whilst being creative and engaging. Your proposal should stand out as both new and relevant. After presenting your idea, you must back up your promise, demonstrate your capability to deliver mega success with your system. Be ready to provide free value or effective solutions once you book a client. Are you willing to put in the time and effort to use the best creation skills to ensure your solution works? This dedication is crucial. That's the formula, students. This is how you navigate the entire system to make money via solving problems. The courses within this category are taught using Adobe Premiere Pro, which is a paid subscription service. I acknowledge students may not be able to pay for this subscription service, which is why further into this category, you will find a course using a free editing service called CapCut. I recommend all students to learn the entire category regardless of which video editing software you'll be using, simply because of the creative knowledge explored. Remember, the editing software you use is a tool. It does not make your creation, rather your creativity is what matters. Your learning should be structured in this manner. Learn 5 lessons per day by putting those lessons into action. Download content online using some form of online media downloader. Practice and begin creating the free value content for your prospects which you will use in your outreach. A crucial step in taking action is feedback. After you watch this lesson, you will be rewarded a role which will unlock a new set of channels. Here you will have access to me and my creation team. We aim to give you feedback on all your video creations in less than 24 hours. The CC Submissions channel is for all content creation reviews, client work, or creative sessions. The Edit Roadblocks channel is for technical roadblocks you may face. Your success is pivotal on volume, repetition, and feedback. When using this service, I advise you to upload your creations for feedback through G Drive or streamable.com. Please note, we will not review any creations through your own social media. Remember, practice makes perfect. Get to work. Welcome to the Content Creation Essentials. In this very first lesson, I want us all to get familiar with the editing software that I'll be using to teach you content creation. Now, throughout these modules, I'll be using Adobe CC. This is the industry standard and is what I recommend for all of you to use. However, a lot of the principles I'll be teaching can be applied to multiple editing softwares, such as Final Cut Pro, DaVinci Resolve, and CapCut. Let's hop over to my screen and let's familiarize ourselves with the user interface. The very first thing I'm going to do is load up Premiere Pro. The first thing you'll be greeted by is a mini learning center. You can go ahead and watch some of these resources. However, I do find that a lot of the Adobe tutorials tend to be quite laborious, so I'm just going to quickly click off that. And this is the main interface. So what we want to do is create a new project, which you can find over here in the left-hand corner of the screen. You can also click in the middle where it says create new project. There's some options in the bottom left-hand corner if you're working with teams, but we won't explore that yet. And as I previously mentioned, there's also the learning hub for Adobe. But yeah, let's go ahead and create a new project. So I'm just going to click new project on the left-hand screen. Now that you're on this interface, the very first thing you want to do is go ahead and name your project. So I'm going to be calling this CC Essentials. On the left-hand side, you can see your local file. So if I was to just click download, I've got 2 Andrew Tate files, and if I was to hover over them, I can scrub through and see these files. On the right-hand side, you'll also see import settings. You can copy media, new bin, create new sequence. I'm going to just quickly click off new sequence. We'll do that once we're in our user interface of our project. Next to the project name, you'll also have the project location, and you just want to go ahead and choose your location where you plan to save your project. So for me, I'm going to save this in the downloads in a folder I've created specifically for this course, CC Essentials. Hit choose, and there we go. I've got my project name and my project location. What I want to do is show you one method of importing your assets. So if I was to click both of these and hit new bin on the right hand side, and I'll actually name the bin Take Assets. I can now go over to the bottom right hand corner of the screen and click Create New Project. So I don't want you to get overwhelmed by this user interface. We will get familiar with this workspace and how you can utilize each individual panel. Now, depending on what version or what editing software you may be using, the interface may be slightly different, and it could also be different at the time of you watching this depending on what updates come out. However, as a general rule of thumb, Adobe Premiere Pro has never really shifted away from this panel structure. So I'm just going to close this learning panel down by hitting the burger bar and hitting close panel, and this will be your core workspace area. Now, as you can see, there's already a file, or the correct terminology for this is a bin, and if I was to double click in that, I've got the 2 videos that I selected at the start when creating this project. Now, you may not necessarily want to do that, because if you've got a project that's full of videos, audios, music, and you import them all under one bin, it may not necessarily be organized in the way that you want to edit your project. In the top left hand corner, we have the import, edit, and export workspaces. However, we don't need to worry about that just yet. Edit will be the main workspace that we will be playing around in. You don't always need to go back into the import screen to bring a file into Premiere Pro. Over in the edit tab, within this bottom left hand corner, we can see our project. So it says there Project CC Essentials. If I just click that tab, what I can do is double click in this space, which I'm going to do now, and this will open my Finder or my documents, and then from there I can go back into downloads and I can choose the 2 files I want imported in, hit import, and there you have them. Both the files have been imported. So this is generally the way I import files, and then from there within Premiere Pro, I will organize my files how I want them. It's also worth noting you can toggle between a list view at the bottom right hand corner or a icon view depending on your preference. So there you have it, a really quick and easy lesson. I just wanted you to get familiar with the user interface of your editing software, and in the next lesson we'll start looking at orientation. So welcome to the lesson on orientation, and what I want to do is try and explain some of the panels, some of the workspace that we have within Premiere Pro. The best way for me to do this is to load an existing project, and I think going forward, majority of what we will be doing, I will do in this particular project. So the very first thing is I want to close this project itself, and to do that, I can go into the project panel. I can either click on the burger bar or I can right click and I can hit close project. This will bring us back to a familiar screen which we've seen in the previous lesson, and I can either open project on the left hand side. However, in the home section, I've already opened the project previously, so here I can see my recent projects. I'm just going to go ahead and click on TRW Take Add. This has now loaded one of my projects. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I'm going to try and just briefly touch on particular areas, and then from there we're going to deep dive into this project, and I will teach you everything you need to know to create a project just as good as this. So before we get started, let's actually watch this video that I created.
Life as a man is not a walking park. It's like a video game. You start from absolute nothing. You start from zero. You have no intrinsic value. It's up to you to level up your skills. You work on your fitness, your fighting skills. You work on your finance. You make sure you become important. You have to do something so you're not just the average Joe Schmo. You have to do something to become forcefully reckoned with, capable of defending yourself and your family and carving out a reality which is worth living in the world today. You grind, you hustle, you build your money making skills. You're not just getting by with a 9-to-5 boss telling you what to do. You become rich and influential. You become a real player in the game of life. You start this game solo, but you can't win it alone. You need a team, a crew that's got your back and pushes you to be better. No one in history has ever achieved anything important by themselves. Every fighter had a coach. If you went to the moon, NASA was on the ground. You always had somebody supporting you. You had to be part of the team. As the levels of the video game progress, you need higher attributes. You need better qualities of your character to succeed and pass the levels. Life is absolutely no different. You do not have time to waste. You must increase the capability of your character. You must become a better version of yourself, because the game is only going to become harder. That is why we're excited about University.
So before we get started, it's worth mentioning that I work on a Mac. Therefore, majority of the shortcuts I may use will be Command plus whatever shortcut. For Windows, it's usually Control. For any shortcuts you might get confused on, please feel free to Google them. However, I'm going to try my best not to use any shortcuts and just dub things down completely. So that's a bit of a disclaimer. Let's discuss workspaces. So if you go over to the top right hand corner of your project, you can see this button here that says workspaces. If I click that, I have different workspaces that I can toggle between. So for example, I can go into assembly. You can see the project workspace is the main focus on assembly. You can go into editing, which is more in relation to the source area or the effects control area panel, or you can go into color. You can also go into effects and of course audio. Now, I don't want to confuse you, but within the lessons, we will look at different workspaces and how I utilize them when I'm doubling down on a specific thing within a project. Me personally, the bulk of my content creation, I do in default. So what do I mean by default? Default for me essentially is having all the panels available for me to jump in and out of particular things within my edit. So there's 2 ways of doing this. Again, you can go back up to the right hand corner, click workspaces, and you can go down to all panels, or the other way of doing it, which is what I actually do, is hit window, workspaces, and then at the top here you can see all panels. I'll just go ahead and click that, and there you go. This is my general workspace. This is how I conduct my edits. In this workspace, there's 5 key panels. The first is the project panel, which is over here on the left hand side. I went over this briefly in the previous lesson. So at the top you'll have your project, you have libraries and media browser. We don't necessarily need to go in them because I'd never actually use them. The only thing you should be concerned with is your project, in this case TRW Take Add. You can move this around by dragging the title in the position you want, and within the project box itself you can double click any area where there's some space. You will have your Finder load up where you can select whatever assets you want and import them. There are particularly tools you can use within this project panel that can help you organize your project much better, and this is something I'll be taking you through in the next lesson. So moving on to the next panel, which is the timeline panel. To the left of the timeline panel, you'll have this bar, which basically contains some of the quick tools that we'll be using throughout this module. The timeline itself is separated into 2 sections, so you can see this dividing line here. Above this dividing line is all your video assets, and below this is your sound assets. And again, I'm not going to confuse you by deep diving this. We will get into everything properly. So your timeline is where you build your project. You have a timeline indicator here, which you can scrub through your footage, and if you want to play, you can hit spacebar, which will show you a preview of your current edit, which then leads me nicely onto the program panel. So the program panel here, it will show you what your current timeline looks like, what the edit looks like, and there are a couple of cool features on here, which I'm not going to go into just yet. Then brings me onto the left-hand program panel. You'll see a few options at the top. However, the only ones you really need to concern yourself with at this moment is source and effects control. So source will actually show you your footage from your project panel. So I'm just going to double click on one of the assets I have imported into this project. Now you can see the source file, and it will show you the complete footage that you have imported. Next to the source, you'll have effects control. Your effects control relates to the clips you have in your timeline. So for example, if I click this clip here, you have a set of options that have appeared in the effects control. If I click another one, you'll see more options, and so on and so forth. This is the area where you will adjust particular effects on your clips. Now all the way to the right hand side of the user interface, you will see multiple options. I wouldn't necessarily worry about this too much. The only options you tend to use within this space is FX, Essential Graphics, maybe Essential Sound, maybe Lumetric Color. But again, further on into the lessons, I will show you how I navigate this panel. Now I'm aware that not everybody will stick to the default layout. They may want to move particular panels around. Now in order to do this, you basically want to hold down on the title of the panel. So let's just take program, and you can move this wherever you would like on your user interface. So you can see the purple highlighting. Let's just say I want to move this next to the project panel, and I pop that in there. There you have it. I have now moved the panel. You also can readjust the size of panels. If you hover between 2 panels, you can click and drag and readjust. However, this is not something I necessarily play around with, just simply because I like to work in default, and you'll find that throughout these lessons, I generally always revert to default settings, simply because wherever I may be in the world, wherever I may need to edit, I know I'm familiar with default settings, and I can just get straight in without having to go through the whole process of reorientating my project. So there you have it. That's the lesson on orientation. Again, again, I know it can feel daunting for those who are new to the content creation sphere, but not to worry, as we progress through each lesson, we will get familiar with all that is offered in each workspace. Now, this project can look very daunting, but that is because the project panel area hasn't been organized properly. I wouldn't normally do this. However, the turnaround time on this project was really fast. I was just cutting up and trying to piece things together as quick as possible. This is not something I'd advise for you to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to rebuild this project, and I'm going to show you how you should actually organize your files. So the very first thing we're going to do is open a new project, and to do this, I'm just going to go and hit File, New Project. So you should all be familiar with this interface. I'm just going to quickly name the project TRW Take Add. I'm not going to bring anything into the project, so no need to create a new bin or a new sequence. I've chosen the destination that I'm going to save this project in, which is named TRW Take Add project file. And down here in the bottom right hand side, I'm going to click create. So as you can see in the project panel, I have both projects open. This timeline or sequence is from the previous project, the original project, and I actually saved the project name as 1. I'm just going to close this sequence down so we start fresh. Now there's two ways of doing this. Either you can organize your files within the project panel, which requires you to create new bins. Over in the bottom right hand corner of the project panel, you'll see a folder icon, which is new bin. Click that, and then from there you can rename this to video, and you can just do the same and perhaps create a few files that you know you're going to be using. Then what we can do is double click on the blank area in the project panel and select a few videos that we want to use, import them, highlight them, and then drag them into the bin file. So for these, they go under video, and there you have it. You have your videos within that file, and then you'll do the same for sound and overlays, sequences we will discuss very shortly. That's one method. However, the preferred and better method, in my personal opinion, is to already have your files organized within your operating system. So what do I mean by this? If I head over to my Finder or my documents, you can see that I've already organized all my assets into folders. So within the video folder, I've got all the videos I need, overlays, something we will discuss shortly, and then audio. I can then highlight these and drag them into my project panel. And there you have it. You already have all the files organized in the bins that you want them. I'll just quickly go ahead and create a bin for sequences. Now within the project panel, you can have different view settings. So down in the bottom right hand corner, we've currently got everything on list view. You can move this to icon view, and you can move this into freeform. I prefer to use icon view. However, freeform can come in handy. So for example, if we was to go into our video bin file, you can see we've got all our videos stacked. And in fact, whilst we're doing this, I'm just going to quickly head over to the workspaces, and I'm going to switch this to assembly. Now I can see things a lot more clearly. If I go back into the video section, I can see all my video assets. I've currently got everything on the freeform view. So let's just say I want to group footage that is just Tate related. I can essentially drag these wherever I want and group them together. Let's just say that's all Tate style footage, and then different footage that is not necessarily related to Tate. So we've got Mike Tyson, the 300 movie. There's a clip here from Creed, which I can put up there. You get the idea, right? It's not necessarily what I do. I prefer to have things in the icon view generally, so I can hover over each video and just scrub through and see what each video looks like. Or it's not uncommon that in my workspaces, if I'm using all panels and the project is starting to get bigger, I will just list all my items. And it's worth noting that once you go into a particular bin, you can go back to viewing all your bins by hitting the return button up here on the left of the project panel. And there we go. We're back into our view of all the bins. It's always good to stay organized because on much larger projects, you will be dealing with multiple files, and sometimes you can get lost in the chaos of your project panel. With that being said, I believe we have some familiarization now with the user interface of our editing software. We understand different panels, we understand how we can change the orientation of things, and we also understand that organization is key when first starting a project. Let's now move over into the more interesting stuff and start creating our first sequence. Let's talk about your project timeline and sequences. So at this moment, we have our organized files in the project panel. Next to the project panel, you'll find the timeline. Now, there's multiple ways to create a sequence. Let's start with the most common way by going to File, New Sequence. Now, when you do this, you're greeted by a new sequence box, which again can be full of information that's quite scary for a beginner. Do not worry, if you do not actually know what camera is being used by your client, or perhaps you're unaware of the aspect ratio or the footage FPS, all things we will discuss in a different module. What I recommend strongly here is going with digital SLR and 1080p 30. You can change the name of your sequence here at the bottom. What I tend to commonly do is ignore this entire tab, hit settings, and this is where I'd actually play around with my sequence settings. Again, as I've mentioned previously, I'm more of a default guy. It allows me to be more versatile in different editing situations. So the only thing I'll actually play around with is the frame size. So currently I've got this set at 1920 by 1080, which is a 16:9 aspect ratio, and this is one of the most universal formats being used for YouTube, Rumble, and horizontal videos. Of course, there are other formats you might need to get familiar with. So for example, 1080 by 1080, this is a 1:1 ratio commonly used for Instagram squares or on your Instagram feed. And then for example, you can have 1080 by 1920, which is the 9:16 aspect ratio. So I'm just going to quickly click OK here so you have an understanding of what I'm talking about. You can see on the program panel, we now have a vertical video commonly used for TikTok, Instagram Reels. So I'm just going to close that sequence and then delete this from the project panel. And I'm going to show you another way of creating a sequence. In my video bin, I have multiple video files, and let's just say your client has sent you video clips, or you have video clips from different cameras, different settings, different scenes. What I do is find the video clip that is going to be the core narrative of your sequence. And for me, it's actually this one down here, which is TRW Promo 4. And what you basically can do is drag this video clip over to this icon here and let go, and you'll get a new sequence. Now the settings of this sequence will be the same settings as the video itself. To check this, you can go over to sequence, hit sequence settings. Again, you're greeted by the sequence setting display, and here you can see the frame size 1920 by 1080, 16:9, which is cool. So hit OK. So over in the project panel, you can see a sequence has been created just above the video that you selected. So I'm going to drag this sequence up and into my sequence bin, minimize the video bin, open the sequence bin, and I'll just quickly change this to TRW Take Add, which is also reflected over here on your timeline. So that's another way to set up your timeline. But for me, it's really simple. I genuinely just hit File, New Sequence. I have a preset selected, which is usually DSLR 1080p 30, and then in the settings, I will always make sure it's 1920 by 1080 if you're editing long form content. So for the sequence name, I will just put TRW Take Add, and then I'll hit OK. And I've got a new sequence with a blank timeline. Now, geez, you may not necessarily be editing horizontal videos. You may be editing square videos, maybe editing vertical videos. Go online and find out what the aspect ratio for those videos are. Let me just quickly come back over to the sequence settings. You need to understand what the pixels are for the aspect ratio, and then just insert them in frame size. Majority of you will either be working with horizontal videos, which is 1920 by 1080, times it by 2 to get a 4K video, or you might be doing vertical videos or shorts. You just basically want to switch the numbers around so it's 1080p by 1920, and you're good to go. Okay, geez, let's hop into the next video where we will look at the timeline and start building this ad. Okay, so before we jump into the lesson in regards to the timeline, I just want to give a quick rundown of everything we've gone through and the way that the project is currently set. As you know, we currently have two projects open. Over here in the project panel, you can see I've labeled the project that we are working with as CC TRW Take Add, and then the original Take Add is here and it's labeled TRW Take Add. You can also see this reflected into the timeline as I have both of the sequences open. So here in the TRW Take Add, as you can see, it's quite messy. So we organize the files, and this is the sequence that I've got in one of the timelines. Similar story for our CC project. Here is a sequence which is also in our timeline panel. So the timeline panel itself is where we will spend majority of our time. And just to kick things off, I'm going to drag a video onto the CC timeline. So over in the project panel, I'm going to change my view to the icon view, check out some of the videos, and see what we can drop into our timeline. I'm going to select this punching punching bag yacht wide video, and what I'll do is just drag and drop it onto our timeline. Premiere Pro has given me a clip mismatch warning. Basically, what this is telling me is the sequence settings that I currently have do not match the video, which is fine. I'm comfortable with the sequence setting that I've got, which is 1920 by 1080. So I'm going to keep existing settings. So as you can see in the program panel, the video clip is smaller. So what I'm going to do just very quickly is click on the clip in the timeline, and then over on the left hand side in the effects control under video, there is motion. So I'll just scale this up. And as you can see in the program panel, I'm scaling the video to fit. And not to worry if all that confused you, we will be going into effects control, motion, opacity, and all those type of things later down the line. I just wanted to get the video in a nice position as we talk through the timeline. Now, the best way for me to explain this timeline is to go back into our original ad, and I want to focus purely on this timeline itself. The timeline is separated into two areas. You have video at the top, which you can see there is this divider in between. I've mentioned it in one of the previous lessons. And beneath this divider, you have all your audio tracks. So audio 1, audio 2, 3, 4, and so on. And same above the divider, video 1, video 2, 3, and 4. We also have this slide or zoom function, which allows you to get right into the detail of your timeline or zoom out. You also have the same on your right hand side, which you can increase the size of each of the tracks or reduce the size for both audio and video. I'm just going to quickly press shift and minus, which will reduce all the tracks. And I'll just quickly set this up in a way where we can zoom and look at the timeline in much more detail. So you can see I'm dragging this up. So the timeline is taking most of the space within my project. And believe it or not, majority of the times when I'm editing, the program panel where you can see your video or edit is usually very small because majority of the focus is down here within the timeline. So here you can see our timeline. It looks really condensed. This is not the way I would normally edit. And what you can do is change the size of each track. On the left hand side within each track, you can basically double click. And as you can see, I'm expanding each of the tracks. Me personally, when editing, I want my tracks as expanded as possible so I can see generally what edits and what cuts I am making within the video clips that I've uploaded into the timeline. So in order to expand all of them out, I'm going to press shift and plus and boom. And there you have it. I have every single track expanded. And you can start to notice within the video tracks, I tend to have thumbnails at the start of the video. This just allows me to see the video better. Again, this is all to aid me in seeing the cuts that I'm making within each of the video clips I've added to the timeline. You can change this by using the wrench icon within the timeline display. If you click it, again, you are met with multiple options. Here you can see minimize all tracks, expand all tracks. And if I was to just uncheck show video thumbnails, they've all gone. I wouldn't recommend this. However, you might need to do this if your project is running slow. Running the thumbnails within your editing software can sometimes take up a lot of RAM. So if you've got a solid editing PC or an iMac, I recommend having the video thumbnails on. And of course, I recommend you go through these settings and have a play around and see what works best for you. I'm just going to zoom out and I'm going to quickly arrange some of this. So I've got adjustment layers, but we will go into this a bit later on. I don't necessarily need those expanded. For me personally, when I'm editing, it's the video clips themselves I need expanded, and having the ability to see the video clips is really good. And just before we move on to the audio track, it's worth noting that within each video track, there is a set of functions. So if I don't want to see any of the videos on this particular track, which is video track 2, I can hit the toggle track output on and off. I also have the ability to lock tracks. So if I just zoom in on this particular track here, which is video track 5, and I hit the lock button, you can see you get these etched lines of your video, which essentially means this track is locked. So if I want to try and move this video, I wouldn't be able to. However, on the rest of the tracks, I can easily move the videos. So sometimes that can come in handy, especially when you're dealing with big projects. Being able to lock particular tracks allows you to move certain areas of your project without affecting other areas. Now, down on the audio tracks, it's a very similar story. I tend to like seeing as much of the audio as possible. And as you get better, you'll start to realize when you're editing certain clips, you're actually editing through audio rather than video, because an expanded audio track allows you to see the waveform of the track. Therefore, you can see where there's gaps. So there would have been a gap here. I've made a cut. Perhaps I could have made a cut here. You can see a little blip in the voice. But overall, you'll find as you get better at content creation, most of your post-production is actually done through audio, which is why I'll always say audio is king. Now, within your audio tracks, you also have the ability to mute particular tracks. So if I hit M or mute track here on audio 2, that means everything on this timeline will be muted. And you can do this across different tracks. But a quick tip a lot of people tend to forget is I've seen a lot of editors actually go through the length of muting every single track just to listen to one particular track. So let's just say I only wanted to hear Andrew Tate's voiceover. The best way to go about doing this is rather than clicking mute on every single track, you can just simply hit solo track, which is the S next to the M. If you click this, then when playing back your edit, you will only be able to hear the solo track that you've clicked. And that's just a little cool tip to keep in mind. You can also add on solo tracks. So let's just say I only wanted to listen to audio track 2 and 3 as well as 1. There you have it. When I play this back, I'll only be able to hear the sound for those 3 particular tracks. So you're probably wondering what's the need for multiple tracks? Well, if we head back over to our CC sequence here in the top left of the timeline panel, you can see we've got this one clip which consists of one video track and one audio track. If we wanted to add another video into our timeline, back over in our project panel, let's just say I pull this clip on. You can see I can add this on top of another clip, or I can add it onto the same video track to follow along. But what this allows us to do is layer clips on top of each other. Let me just quickly expand these tracks out. So as you can see, we've got this clip of Andrew Tate punching a heavy bag on the yacht, and because I've layered another clip on top, it automatically changes into that particular clip. With that being said, I actually need to go ahead and readjust this clip. So I'll click it, head back into the left-hand program panel, and in the effects control, just increase the scale once again. Don't be overwhelmed by this function. It's something I will go into in detail later. And one last function I want to show you on the timeline is if you go onto an empty track, right click, you can add a track or you can delete a track. I use these quite commonly. Most people just go ahead and drag clips on and stack the tracks. But I think sometimes it's better just to add the track and then bring the clip over. It allows you a bit more control. That's just more down to preference. But there you have it, the essentials you need to know in regards to the timeline panel. So we've already looked at how you bring clips over to your timeline. I just want to go over a few advanced techniques to help speed up your workflow. And it's worth mentioning, throughout these tutorials, you'll realize there are multiple ways to achieve the same outcome. Majority of the time, it just depends on what you find easier and what allows you to do your project or complete your task quicker. So once again, over in my project panel, I'm just going to double click on video. Let's drag this Dubai clip over, keep existing settings. I'm actually have to reduce the size of this one to get it to fit. Now we have the clip on the timeline. But what you can actually do is over in the project panel, if you was to double click on the video clip itself, it will then open into the source monitor. So if I just expand this monitor so we can see what's happening, here you essentially have the clip and a few tools that you can use to help pick out the exact moment within the clip that you want to use within your project. So you'll hear me refer to 2 terms quite frequently as these lessons progress, and that is in and out. Those are the 2 points you'll use within your source monitor to pick certain areas of your clip that you want to add to your timeline. So let's go ahead and have a look at this. So we've got Tate walking onto the yacht. I believe he turns around and does a quick Aikido move. There we go. I actually like that, right? So I'm going to scroll back, perhaps find a more shorter point that I'm interested in, maybe just before he turns around, which is about there. So I'm going to hit I, which is the keyboard shortcut for in. However, you also have these 2 buttons here, which is mark in and mark out. I recommend you start getting used to keyboard shortcuts early because it just massively helps your workflow and makes things a lot faster. And as you can see on the timeline, we've got this gray bar, which signifies your in point, and the rest of the clip is currently highlighted. So if you carry on scrubbing through, you can play this if you want to. I prefer to scrub. And as the camera comes down and we get the finishing Aikido move, I'm going to hit O, which is mark out. Now there's there's also multiple ways to bring this onto your timeline. The most basic way is to click on the source monitor and drag the file down into your timeline, which you can see here. And there you have it. We have just that particular part of the clip into our timeline. Now, let's just say you don't necessarily want the audio, or perhaps you want only the audio. There's an option in the source monitor which allows you to drag just the video or just the audio. You can do that through these two buttons here. So if I was to hit this video icon and drag this into my timeline, you can see the only thing that's come across into my timeline is the video. And also you can drag just the audio button, and over in the audio track, you can see the only thing that has been carried over is the audio. So another method of bringing the clip into the timeline is using the insert and overwrite. These two shortcut functions are comma and period. And I want to show you something really interesting. Over in the timeline, you can see that we've currently got video track 1 highlighted, and you can move this around to video track 2 and 3, and the same with the audio. So for example, let's just say we've edited a podcast and we now want to add just our B-roll. A great way of doing this is selecting a empty track, such as video track 3. You can hit overwrite, which will bring the clip into video track 3. You may also want to ensure that you highlight the right audio track. So if I right click, hit add track, I get audio track 3, and I highlight audio track 3. So currently I've got audio track 3 highlighted and video track 3. If I was to now travel to the start of this, again, hit overwrite, and it'll bring in the track and the audio into my timeline. I want you to notice overwrite will bring the clip without cutting the sequence, whereas if you was to hit insert, you get the clip after or within the sequence. What do I mean by within the sequence? If I just move the playhead into the middle of the sequence, we've still got video track 3 and audio track 3 highlighted, which currently has a clip within it, and I was to hit insert, you can see it's cut the clip straight down the middle and moved the other two clips aside. Let me just quickly get rid of that and show you from two clips perspective. So the very first thing I'm going to do is select audio track 1 and video track 1. I'll bring this clip into the timeline, and then over in my project panel, I'll select another clip. Let's just say we go with this money counter. I've double clicked it, and over here in the source monitor, I'm just going to select my in and out points in there, out there. So I want to reposition my playhead exactly when Andrew Tate finishes his Aikido move. There we go. And what I'll do now is move my track to video 2. There's no option for audio because this is a video only file. Now, if I hit insert, it'll cut the clip right down the middle, which is not what I want to do. So Command Z or Control Z on computer to undo. And then if I hit overwrite, it will go on top into the second video track that I selected. And then you will see as soon as Andrew Tate does that, boom, we'll go into the money counting. And like I said, this is a really cool way for you to just overlay B-roll footage quite fast. There's also another cool technique here to bring clips in that you want. I'm just going to delete these. I've got video track 1 highlighted, and over in my project panel, what I'm going to do now is select a few of these clips. So if we go over to this Mongolian army clip, I believe there's a part where Genghis Khan is just walking. So there we go. I'll hit in here and out just before the subtitles come on. I'll do the same over here with the Mike Tyson clip. So there's a part where his coach is teaching him a few sparring techniques. So in there and out. Over here with the Matrix clip, there's a part where it says follow the white rabbit. I'm just going to quickly find that. I'll hit I here and out at the point of rabbit, 0 on the keyboard. And we've already done the money counting clip. Now, if I was to select each of these clips, I'll do that by holding down shift and clicking on each one of them and then dragging them over to the timeline. The only parts that will get dragged are the parts that I've selected in the source monitor. So here you go. There's the Mongolian clip, Tyson clip, follow the white rabbit from the Matrix, Andrew Tate's Aikido move, and the money. So that's a really cool way just to bring in the clips that you only are interested in, rather than dragging the entire clips over and then having to cut through each of them and figuring out which part you want. And the very last thing I want to show you is a quick keyboard shortcut. So if you was to press the arrow up, it will move back through your timeline at each clip. And again, if you press it down, it'll move from the start of the clip to the end of that clip and the start of the next clip, down again, down again, down again. So at this point, we're quite familiar with the user interface. We know very briefly how to navigate ourselves within each panel of the user interface. We know how to import a single clip. We know how to import multiple clips. We've got good orientation, which means the following lesson we will now start getting into actually editing our clips. So going forward, I'll be recording everything using OBS. Previously, I was using QuickTime. Anyone who is familiar with Mac and OBS know that it's a nightmare to set up. I finally got it up and running. Let's hop back into our CCTRW Tate ad. I want to bring your focus to this panel next to the timeline or sequences. In my opinion, these are the main tools you'll be using to chop up your content creation. And at this level of learning, I only want to go over 4 of the tools. The first being the selection tool, which has a keyboard shortcut V. This is your general interface tool, and you'd use this commonly to move your clips back and forth. So let's just go ahead and pick the very first clip that we've used. I'm not going to go into repositioning this clip just yet. That's something we'll talk in a later video. But the selection tool will allow you to move your video from left to right, up and down different tracks. This video itself doesn't have any audio attached to it. But what you'll find is with the selection tool, if you hover at the start of the clip, you'll see your icon change. And what you can do is drag this to make a cut on your actual video. What you can actually see over in the program monitor is where your cut will actually be made. So here we can see at 1:05 approximately. And if I let go, you can see now everything that we've scrubbed through has been deleted. If I go to this clip at the start of the clip, it's exactly where we made the cut. And then I can do the same back, right, to add the clip in. Same on the opposite side. So at the end of the video, we can drag it back. And now you can see on the program monitor on the left-hand side, it's showing where the clip will end. If I just scrub to the end of the clip, there you go. That's where we had it. And that generally is all you need to know for the selection tool. And the next tool that we'll be looking at is the razor tool. So I'll catch you in the next video. Before we get started, it's worth noting that when creating this ad, I was only sent one file, and that one file was an audio note from Andrew Tate. Over in my project panel on the audio, I've got the original audio file. The razor tool, which I believe is the most important tool in your arsenal, can be accessed by either pressing C or clicking the razor tool icon here. And when you move your cursor back over to the timeline, you can see that either your video clip or your audio clip has a line where you can create a cut. If you remember previously, I mentioned that when chopping up a video, you'll actually find that you'll be doing this through your audio, because your audio allows you to identify areas that don't have any words or seem like they're mistakes. So if I was to just zoom out on this timeline, and let's for a second pretend that this audio came with a video or a talking head of Andrew Tate, I can straight away identify that somewhere around here, there seems to be a cut off. So that's most likely a mistake. And at the beginning of the audio and in certain areas of the audio, there seems to be a drop off of the voice. So that's most likely where I'm going to do my cuts. Let's just go ahead and do our very first cut, and I'm going to be using the audio to do this. This initial part of the audio, I'm just going to put a cut right at the start of when the voice talks. Notice how I've not even played the audio yet. I already know that there's going to be nothing there. And what I can then do is basically click my selection tool or press V on the keyboard, click the part of the video where I've made a cut, and I can hit delete. And there you go. I remove some of the audio and now have this space where the audio once was. What you can actually do is click in the space and hit delete, and it will move the audio down the timeline. So let's have a quick here of the very first words that are said within this audio.
Life as a man is not a walk in the park. It's like a video game.
So straight away, there's a gap in between here. And one of the key things about editing a video ad in this case, or majority of the talking head videos that you'll be editing, is you don't want too many gaps between the voice. So I'm just going to scroll my playhead back and press C, create a cut there at the start of where I want the cut, and create another cut here at the end of where I want the cut. Hit V to go back into the selection tool, select the area, press delete, and I've got this gap. Now, what you can do is drag this back and fill the space that you've just cut out. There's a key thing worth mentioning here. Over in the timeline, you can see this magnet button, which is snap in timeline. You want to ensure that you have that on. What that basically allows you to do is create this magnet type of pull between clips. So when I'm dragging this clip, I can just feel it snap straight into place, and I can let go, and I know that's fitting flush on the audio. So let's just quickly listen to that now.
Life as a man is not a walk in the park. It's like a video game.
Perfect. And again, I can start to see these gaps. So I'm just going to quickly start creating cuts. See how I've just quickly moved straight down the timeline. I already know that there's gaps there that I won't want. So what you can do is zoom in even further just to make sure you really identify the gaps that you don't want, and you can make more precision cuts. And I generally find that I'm much more of a precision style of editor. I really like to get down into the detail and make sure that the cuts are solid. So we've come to this area where there seems to be a drop off on the audio. Now I believe in this one take, there's probably 1 or 2 parts within this audio note that need to be removed completely. Let's have a listen at this part of the audio.
You have to do something to become a force to be reckoned with. You work on your fitness.
So clearly he's fucked up there. I'm just literally going to drag this to the point where he restarts and we're good.
You work on your fitness, your fighting skills. You work on...
So there's a gap there again. I'm just going to C to change my cursor into the razor tool, pop 2 cuts, V to change back to the selection tool, click it, hit delete, job done. Now, you might say that why have I not taken the time to snap each of these as I'm cutting? Well, there's a really cool tool in Adobe, and what you can basically do is go over to sequence at the top and you can scroll down and hit close gap. When I hit this, I want you to pay attention to the gaps on the timeline. There you go. It's closed most of the gaps. It probably could have done a better job, but that's fine. I'll just quickly close them by hitting space and clicking delete. Let's look back from the start.
Life as a man is not a walk in the park. It's like a video game. You start from absolute nothing. You start from zero. You have no intrinsic value, and it's up to you to level up your skills. You work on your fitness, your fighting skills. You make sure that you make money. You become important.
I'm happy with that. What I might do is bring in the next clip. So back into my project panel, I'm going to go up and into the videos. I'm actually looking for the 300 clip where the young lad is walking in the snow, and I believe I found it here. Let me just double click. And to do this, I'm going to scrub through the timeline in the source and find the particular clip I'm looking for, which I believe starts around here. So I to pick the in point and O to pick the out point. I'll drag that onto the timeline. So you can see I've still got the snap function, right? And what I want to do is avoid putting the audio on top of the current audio I've got. So I'm just going to put it there and let go. Boom. So it's created another track for me automatically. Let me just double click that. I'll keep the core audio, which is Andrew Tate talking, on the very first audio track, and I'll move this audio further up on the second track, perhaps move this down, and let's see where we can fit it, right?
Life as a man is not a walk in the park. It's like a video game. You start from absolute nothing. You start from zero. You have no...
So listen to this, right? The audio itself from the 300 clip has its own audio.
Constantly tested, tossed into the wild, left to pit his wits and will against nature's fury.
Okay, so on that basis, I'm going to have to get rid of the audio, and to do that, I'm going to right click on the clip, hit unlink. Now, when I hit unlink, this allows me to decouple the video from the audio, hit unlink, and I'm going to click the audio and click off it. So now I've just got the clip that I want. I've popped it in. I've showed you how to make cuts. I just want to go over it again really quickly. You might be wondering why you can see this human anatomy video on top of the 300 video, which is beneath. This is to do with overlays, and I'll explain this to you in a later video, but for now, just bear with me. So I like this opening. I like where he's walking, taking a few cautious steps, and I think just before then, I'm going to cut it. So again, I'll hit C on my keyboard, make the cut, and I'll carry on scrubbing to a point where I think I don't need the clip. Most likely where he's sitting in the cave and he does this face turn, right? I like that. So I'll make another cut there, hit the clip in the middle, hit delete, and bring it back to the previous clip and let it snap. That is the razor tool. And as I said before, from my perspective, this is one of the main tools. A lot of people will say it's a legacy tool, but you'll realize as we progress through the CC essential modules, I'm more of a legacy creator. So I was actually around when a lot of the Ripple tools and the Slip tools that are now currently available weren't available when I began my journey in content creation. The next tool I want to look at is the Ripple Edit tool. This can be found through the keyboard shortcut B, and it is also the third icon down on your editing toolbar. Let's quickly listen to the intro audio given by Andrew Tate.
Life as a man is not a walk in the park. It's like a video game. You start from absolute nothing. You start from zero. You have no intrinsic value, and it's up to you to level up your skills.
So when listening to that, I actually thought in my head, it's extremely representative of the movie 300, and there's an intro scene in the movie which shows the difficulty of the Spartan children and how they become truly independent and great warriors. So I downloaded the 300 clip from YouTube, and I want to try and find a particular scene which is very representative of what Andrew Tate is talking about in his intro about life as a man is very difficult, and you have to go through certain loopholes, certain difficulties to become great. Now, with that being said, I'm going to quickly press B on my keyboard to bring up the Ripple Edit tool, and I want to start by showing you why I wouldn't necessarily use this tool when building out my project. It's actually a tool I might use once I've got majority of my project within the timeline. If I was to try and ripple delete this particular scene with the cut up audio that I've got, by hovering my cursor towards the start of the video and dragging, I'm unable to drag. That's because I can only use this tool with just a single video and audio track that's linked together. I'm just going to zoom out, and I want to show you how this tool works. So if I just quickly scrub through the timeline, there's a particular scene within the movie that I like, which is this walking in the snow, and then it's this fierce competition of trying to survive on your own, and there's this wolf that is posing a threat. So I like that scene. A quick way to cut the clip to that scene is using the Ripple Delete tool. Go to the very start of the video. You can see the icon has changed. I will drag, and once again in the program panel, you can see as I'm dragging on the right hand side, I'm able to scrub through the footage and see where I want to stop. I'm going to keep pulling the clip to the scene that I want the clip to start at, which is around about here where Leonidas is walking in the snow. So if I let go, you can see straight away that the gap that would normally be left from a razor tool is eliminated, and the clip moves straight to the start of the playhead. So if I was to just play the clip from here, there we go. We've managed to erase all the beginning of the footage, and it has started here. Now with the Ripple Edit tool, I'm unable to make individual cuts. So I think I'm happy with the 1 or 2 footsteps in the snow. I would still have to switch to my razor tool, press C on the keyboard, make a cut. Then from there, I can press B to go back into my Ripple Edit tool and start dragging from where the cut has been made and follow the exact same process until I get to a part that I'm happy with, which I think is around about here where Leonidas turns his head to look over at the wolf. And if you look at the timeline, you can see the playhead line sits at where I initially made the cut. You can see the area that I've dragged past using the Ripple Edit tool. And if I let go of the clip, what will happen is this clip will remove the area that I've dragged past and snap to where I initially made my cut. There you go. So I actually think I've missed the scene I was looking for. So I'm going to just quickly press Command Z, and I'll start the process again. Press B. I'm going to drag it across to the point where the video zooms in on him sitting in the cave area. There we go. So let's just quickly scrub and make sure that's correct. Yeah, so I think I'm happy with that. And I probably will place another cut just before the camera switches to the wolf. So if I zoom in, hit C, pop my cut in, and I'm going to switch to my Ripple Delete again, press B, drag it over, and I'm going to get to the point where the wolf's eye is coming to play, which is about there. And there we have it. I've managed to cut this into 3 different scenes, and I'm not have to go through the process of deleting the gaps in between. Now, as mentioned in the previous video, I'm a legacy editor. I don't necessarily use this tool. I don't think it's as great as people make it out to be, but again, it's down to your preference. It's always good to know the set of tools you have in your toolkit. I'm literally going to quickly piece this intro section together, and from there I can show you where I actually do use the tool. Okay, so what I've done is I've cut the stock footage of this human anatomy. I've coupled it with the scene from 300 that I'm happy with, and then I've gone back into the anatomy footage that I also think is relevant. And I tend to select these clips dependent on what is being said in the audio. So let's just have a quick watch.
Life as a man is not a walk in the park. It's like a video game. You start from absolute nothing. You start from zero. You have no intrinsic value, and it's up to you to level up your skills. You work on your fitness, your fighting skills. You work.
Okay, so I'm happy with that, and I'm happy with the way that the project is going. There are some things I need to bring in, such as the music effect, video styling. All these things we'll go through in the following lessons. I just want to finish this by showing you where I would actually use the Ripple Edit tool. Let's ignore the video clips for a second, because the very first thing I've actually composed is the audio, and I'll zoom in. There's a gap that's not really required. I'm just going to hit B and bring up my Ripple Edit tool. Hover between the cut to the arrow is facing left, because that is the area I want to remove. Again, you can see the area that I'm trying to remove, and ensuring that the Ripple Delete just brings the audio in front and snaps it to where I'm deleting this blank space. So I'll let go. And there you go, the audio is joined. That is a very similar explanation as I've done before, but where I feel this tool comes in handy is when you have an effect that you've applied, in this case it's constant power, and I won't go into explaining this just yet. Rather than going down the length of deleting the effect, pulling that back, deleting the gap and bringing the audios back together, you can simply press B. You don't have to remove the effect, follow the same procedure, let go, and the effect is still on the audio while simultaneously closing the gap between the audio. That is where I would most likely use this tool. Other than that, I usually don't use this tool. However, the next tool that we will go into, I do use quite often, which is the track selection tool. The last tool I want to discuss is the track selection tool. The keyboard shortcut for this tool is A, and it is the second icon down on the editing toolbar. Now, for me to show you what this actually can do, I'm just going to quickly hop back into the completed ad. And to do this, I'll just switch sequences on my timeline. I'm going to press A on my keyboard, and straight away you can notice the cursor has changed into two arrows pointing from indicating a movement from left to right. The very first thing I want everyone to understand is wherever you position your cursor, you'll be able to move the entire project. So let's just say I'm going to move my entire project from this particular point. If I was to click and drag, you can see I've moved the entire project. However, what you will notice is if there are chunks of footage or audio that do not have a cut from the position you've moved from, they will also move as well. So I'm just going to hit Command Z. And what I also want to show you, if I hold down Shift, you've noticed that the cursor has turned into one arrow. What this allows you to do is move individual track footage across your timeline. So boom, there you go. And I'll do that again here on the very first video track that I've got. I've got my selection tool on by pressing A. I'll hold down Shift, and then from this point, I can move this particular video. Keep in mind, you want to let go of Shift when you start to drag and move the videos across. So there you go. Now you might be thinking, when will I actually need to use that? Commonly, what you'll tend to find is as you're assembling a video together, you might stumble across a different piece of footage. You might stumble across a different piece of audio that you think could fit perfectly somewhere. So you need to separate your project out from left to right and then insert it in. This is a really quick and easy way to do that rather than dragging and moving the entire project file individually. It's also worth noting you can do this in the opposite direction as well. So if I click A to bring my track selection tool back up, and I'm going to just quickly move this particular video clip, which is the outro, just so I can show you. I'm going to zoom in, and let's just say I want to close this gap. I can hit Shift, which brings up the single track selection, and hit A, and you notice that the arrow has now moved to indicate from right to left. So I can now let go of everything on the keyboard, and then from there I can go back into this particular clip and drag it back into position. So really quick lesson on track selection tool. For me personally, the main tools I'll use is the selection tool, the track selection tool, and the razor tool. However, as I always say, the more tools you have in your arsenal, the better you are at creating content. Since the only thing I was sent to create this ad was the audio, it's probably worth me showing you a quick audio trick, but to do that, I need to open a talking head video. So let's just quickly run through the basics again, just so you can see how quick it is to open a new project. So I'm going to hit File, New Project, and I'm going to name this project Talking Head. From there, I'll choose the location I want to save the project. I've got a project folder here called Professor Arnold. I'm going to double click, and I'm going to choose this as the location of my project. Hit Create. Now over in the project panel, you can see I've got the Talking Head project, I've got the CC_TRW ad, and the original TRW ad. Under the Talking Head project, I'm going to double click into blank space. Within the Professor Arnold folder, I'll have an audio and a video clip. So I'll import both of them. Back over to File, New Sequence. Again, I'll just quickly name this Talking Head. I've got my settings as digital, SLR, 1080p, 30. I'll just quickly move over to settings. You can see the frame size is 1920 by 1080. I'm happy with that. I'll hit OK. And there we have our new sequence. I'm going to expand the timeline by pressing Shift and plus. I'm just going to zoom in on the timeline, and over in my project panel, I'll drag the video in, and I'll also drag the audio. Now from the waveforms, you can actually see that the audio which is recorded into the mic is not synced with the audio that's been recorded from the video. So let's play, and you can hear what it sounds like.
Quick reminder, this helmet is actually quite heavy.
So a really simple way to link the audio is to select both the video and the audio. You can do this by holding down Shift and selecting, or you can just highlight the two of them and let go. Right click, and in this menu, you can see synchronize. I'm going to click synchronize, and I'm just going to check the circle audio and hit OK. And there you have it. Adobe has automatically synced both the audio and the video together. Now whilst this is a small video, when you've got a big project that you might be handling for a client, it can come in really handy syncing both the video and the audio together. Sometimes it's always worth just checking so I can zoom in onto the timeline and even listen to the playback.
Quick reminder, this helmet is actually quite heavy.
If for whatever reason you feel like it's slightly off, you can press forward or back on your arrows keys. So as you can tell, back, forward, and it will ensure that the video only moves down one frame.
Quick reminder, this helmet is actually quite heavy.
Now once you've got both the video and audio aligned, you may want to keep the original audio. However, you might not want to mute the entire track. So the best way to resolve this is to highlight just the audio. You can do this by selecting the Option key on Mac, hitting the audio, right clicking and unchecking enable. You'll see that the color of the audio has now darkened, which basically means this audio will no longer play or be taken into account of your video edit.
So what I want you to do is to be in tip-top shape, do your push-ups, do your training, train every day.
If however you know that the audio from the mic is pretty good, you can just go ahead and drag this up over the video audio and let go. It'll automatically replace it. And then what you'll tend to find is you may have to do double cuts. So a cut on the video and then a cut on the audio. To avoid doing this, you basically want to link both the video and the audio together. There's multiple ways to do this. You can shift on the keyboard, highlight both the audio and the video. Now if I was to move the video, you can see the audio will move with it and it will stay in sync. If I wanted to cut, press C, I'll cut directly through the video and the audio, press B to ripple, delete, drag to the point that I know Arnold starts speaking again, let go, and I have both the clip and the audio
Train every day, otherwise you won't be able to wear it
in sync, and I've cut out spaces.
Can't go on a crusade, like you'll get your head bashed, it's not good. So
here you can effectively see how I'm combining the different editing tools along with the audio synchronization to allow me to speed my workflow up quite effectively for this Talking Head. And what we'll do going forward is I might jump in and out of the Talking Head video, out of the Take ad video, just so you can understand different techniques that I use to compile my content creation.